Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Respino, and welcome back. Today we have a special guest. His name is Chris Arzberger. How are you, Chris?
Hey, I'm doing great today. Looking forward to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right. Definitely. Me too. And definitely it's that time of the year. The holidays are here. So a great time to spend some time with family and friends. Yeah. So why don't you give us a little bit about your background? Tell us a little bit of who you are so that we can get to know you.
All right. Number one, I lead my life with my faith in Jesus Christ. I'm a former Air Force veteran, 15 years in the Air Force. I was in the first Gulf War in 1990. I saw 5 days of combat, learned a lot during that combat situation. Mm-hmm. Just learned about how to do the hard things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But I really try to impact people's lives. I realize that relationships are number one. One of my main passions is to impact world poverty. So I do a lot of area in poverty ministry and stuff like that. Besides my main business, which is a supply chain consulting company called IB Logistics. Another passion of mine is physical fitness training, that kind of things. I've recently launched a partnership with a musculoskeletal doctor in launching a partnership and opening up a personal training studio during COVID. So.
Wow, nice. That's awesome. So take us back a little bit to where were you born and how was your upbringing?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Queens, New York.
Okay.
Lived in the city for about 5 years, but then my family moved upstate. So we really lived a lot of my life upstate in the upstate New York where the mountains and snow, but all my main family, my grandmother lived in the city. So the city was a big impact on me. We spent about at least 1 month out of the year for the summer going down, visiting my relatives, staying with my grandmother. So I really had a lot of city influence, but also some upstate influence. But my dad was really a performance-based father. You know, he said, hey, you need to work hard. When you work hard, you'll reap the benefits, you know. And he told me, he said, listen, he's like, you have to get a scholarship if you want to go to college. So I you know, he gave me that message when I was in like 9th grade. And so I worked and tried to do all the stuff I need to do as a high school student to get a scholarship. So I ended up getting a 4-year ROTC scholarship to go in the Air Force. My first assignment out of college was over in England. And the Gulf War kicked off within like 4 or 5 months when I got there. Our A-10s went to deploy there, and I volunteered. And a 3-month volunteer ended up to be 8 months in the Gulf War. And you know, when people, you know, you train and you have these rules and regulations and policies, but when you're in a war, all that stuff really much gets thrown out the door, and you just have to rely on your training and just sound decision making on what's the right thing to do, you know. And there was no set schedule. You know, when you're over there, you would just get a tap on your shoulder if you're taking a nap or go to sleep. You get a tap on your shoulder. Hey, you got to go do this. Hey, you got to go do that. You know, and then when the bullets start flying, I realized that I was well protected because there was bullets that literally hit like cement behind my head, and the cement actually hit me in the face. And I realized that just a couple inches more, I would have been dead. But I believe that God was there, you know, directing those bullets, missing me.
Yeah.
So that really impacted me as far as knowing that God was really present in my life from an early age. You know, I was like 24 years old at that time.
Yeah. I got to ask you, and one thing that I hear a lot, right, and kind of going back to what you were talking about with your dad telling you, you know, work hard, get a scholarship. you know, it's interesting how a lot of times we have these beliefs, or our parents have these beliefs that have been passed on from generation to generation. Knowing what you know now, you know, how would you take that advice? I mean, it was definitely good advice. Yet, do you see that differently, or would you have a different advice, you know, for somebody else based on what you know now?
Yeah, you know, I have two kids. I have a 21-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Hmm.
I do believe the work ethic is a key thing, but I believe that you need to work smart and really focus on serving and relationships, which really wasn't that prominent in my family growing up. You know, my father was not around a lot because he worked hard himself. He had his own business.
Yeah.
So he's not really around. I don't, you know, I've talked to him about that, you know, how he missed football games, missed events in my life. But I knew he was providing for me. I knew he was providing a way to get ahead. And he always said that I want to provide something for you that my dad never provided for me.
Mm.
But for me, I think just focusing on relationships is not enough messaging to our young adults, and focusing on deep relationships, not just shallow relationships. Really
Right.
learn who you are and say, hey, I see you, I know you, and just accept people for who they are, realizing we all have differences. You know, you look at today's world, it's crazy how people can't allow for there to be a different perspective, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I love that, though. I really love that message. Focus on service and relationships, because a lot of times we tend to forget about that too. And we're so busy chasing that dollar amount, or we're so busy chasing other things that really don't have that importance. And so I want to touch base on relationships, because I think that there's I don't know if I want to use this word, but there's those toxic relationships and there's those meaningful relationships, right? What is your take on that when it comes down to creating and building relationships, or a network of people, right, that are in your at your reach? What is your take on that, and your belief on that?
I think you have to be really intentional about building relationships, which means, you know, if you use a day planner or use your phone, you know, there's people that you need to make sure you're intentional with, and then understand that different people have different needs. So I talked about my poverty ministry. You know, when I work with people in poverty and I sign up to help them out, and some of them, maybe they need a ride to see their kids because they don't have transportation. I realize that if I don't come through for them, it is going to impact them in such a negative way, because most people don't believe them, don't have faith in people in low income and poverty and stuff, and people have doubted them before. But then someone else of my peer, you know, we have this intentional relationship, and it's more of a very, we're both very building each other up. But even in a poverty, I went there, and believe me, they build me up because they inspire me. These people have little resources, and they are striving to do better and grow themselves. So it's very interesting. I think relationships can be seen to benefit both people at the same time if you're very intentional about it. And you have to have upfront communication. I think communication and transparency is so true. And a lot of people are just scared to sort of tell the truth. With me being my whole life being faith-based and believing Jesus, I believe I have nothing to hide. So I tell a lot of the truth, but I try to balance that with grace, you know, and truth. So I think, yeah, there are toxic relationships. I believe, you know, I've seen those in various walks of my life, especially some people into poverty. And I just try to still understand them and try to forgive and try to help as much as I can. Hoping that, I don't know how you're impacting a person, you never know, but hopefully you're impacting them in a positive way.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I do. I've done a couple of house builds down in Ensenada, Mexico, and just learning kind of like what you were talking about, right? Those people are living in this place where, you know, they're poor, they don't have the resources, they don't have the means as we do in the States. And a lot of times I feel like I'm going over there to make an impact on them, yet without even thinking about it, they're also making an impact on me, right? And so it's a two-way street in this. At least for me, it is, where I'm not just helping them; they're also helping me in many different aspects. And that's the beauty of that. That's the beauty of that service. That's the beauty of that relationship, and being able to do a lot of that, which I really definitely appreciate. The other thing too,
that is so true. That is so true. We go in there thinking we're helping other people, but yet they help us. And that's what's so beautiful about service.
Yeah.
God has a plan for us. And that as we serve, we get so many things back that we never expected.
Right.
Crazy how it works.
Yeah, it is. And then the other one is the upfront communication. I think this is one of those places where we as people tend to be afraid to communicate or ask for a simple answer to get the answers to a simple question, asking that simple question. And so a lot of times, even if that communication is not going to give you the result that you want, you're better off knowing the truth, because then you're not dragging yourself along with something that is false, right? And sometimes in business, in relationships, in general, we let the fear of communicating something to somebody take that best of us, right? And so we can lose out on many different things from that perspective.
I tell people, I ask them, I say, when you're dealing with me, I said, I want you to let me make my own decision. So don't be afraid to ask me something that you truly want or you need. The worst you can hear is no.
Right.
Be all right with no.
Yeah.
But prejudge me and say that Chris isn't going to do that for me because he's too busy, or he's not interested in me. Don't prejudge me that I'm going to do it or I will do this. Ask me and just be all right with hearing no. Most people aren't just all right with hearing no, Not that bad. Hearing no.
I know most people are afraid of that word no. I mean, I know I was one of them. Like I would always hate that rejection or getting that no, and you gotta be okay. I think it was Les Brown. He said you gotta be okay with the no because you're getting closer to that one yes, right?
Love Les Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there too. I was the guy that would not ask what I truly wanted for because I was afraid of rejection, afraid of no. Oh, it's just horrible. But
right,
getting it over. That's something you have to work on.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I want to talk about your 5-day combat. I mean, that definitely must have been something really major for you to overcome. And so if you can kind of take me back, what were some of the emotions? What was going on in those 5-day combat? Because, we all have different ways that we're dealing with life in different aspects or risk of lives. And you obviously combating for 5 days. That's a huge risk. And so I know there's a lot of emotions going through that. I want to just kind of pick your brain on what was going on and what were some of the things that you learned from that?
Well, first off, when I was heading over there, I had to be comfortable with the fact that I might die. And I actually called my parents and told them and say, hey, I'm going over to the war zone and I'm all right with dying. I know that Jesus is my savior, so I'm all right with that. And I think I had to get through that first. Once I was comfortable with that, because that was it, I felt like if I didn't be comfortable with that, I couldn't do my job. I couldn't just be in natural flow, right?
How do you prepare for, I mean, it's maybe, right? I was going to say, because that is the ultimate price to pay, right? And sometimes so here I'll give you an example, right? Like maybe I just broke up with my girlfriend or my husband left, whatever the case may be. And you got to be okay with that. And that is something very hard to cope with. Or I was just fired from my job and I won't have the means to pay for my mortgage or whatever the case may be. And again, it's so hard to cope with that. Coping with the ultimate price of possibly losing your life. Like, how do you get your mind to that level?
I was crying, and I know the moment I remember this, I was flying in the back of a helicopter and we were flying into Iraq, and I was sitting there, thinking that, hey, if I don't come to grips with this, and something was talking to me, Jesus, Holy Spirit, someone talking to me, saying, hey, I'm here for you. And I started crying because I could realize I could die and I wouldn't be anymore. And that was very sad to me and very, I was overcoming, but I knew that I had to reach out to my parents and tell them, hey, I'm going over here and I'm all right with dying because I know I'm going to go to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was very young, right? I was like 24 years old and I was put in charge of other people who were young and some people that were older than me. Mm-hmm. And when the bullets start flying, you're obviously fearful, you're very fearful of this, but you have to try to see past that initial fear and see what you can do because there's like people looking at me, right? The bullets are, they're like, hey, what are we doing, Lieutenant? And I'm just like, okay, we got to take cover,
Yeah.
So there's different things you have to just look past, I guess, the tunnel vision you have to see the bigger picture. and it's hard. It's not something easy, but you know, they do provide training. I'd gone into various different training before I went over there. So that sort of helps you, but it doesn't obviously prepare you. Like I always tell people, you're never prepared for anything until it actually happens. Like losing your job, going through divorce. You know, I went through a divorce too. This past, just finished about a year ago. So I went through a 3-year divorce because I had my company and just drawn out. You're never prepared. You never know how you're going to react until you actually go through it, you know? So the emotions of that combat was anywhere from fear to sadness to, but then to adrenaline and energy, you know, like, okay, I got to do this. And then once you, like that first day was a big surprise. The second day was a little bit less, and it kept, then I sort of, you have to fight the tendency to think, okay, this is just normal pace, you know, and you maybe let your guard down because you're sort of doing things and it's combat day after day after day. You know, you still have to realize that you have to get your full attention to this every single day and not get lackadaisical. A lot of stuff in our regular life, we might get lackadaisical, you know, things. We're comfortable in our relationship. We take things for granted. Well, over there, you take things for granted, you're going to die.
Wow. Yeah.
You know? So a lot of that stuff sort of taught me a lot of that, which I haven't mastered all of my life, but certainly helped me. Definitely that crucible of going over there for that long period of time definitely helped me set my career in advance, even in the Air Force, because I had such a great performance on your resume, so to speak, your resume of life. They helped me get promoted ahead of other people, got me better jobs than other people, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. How did the idea of opening up your own business come about? The logistics company.
Yeah. So I you know, in the Air Force sent me to get my master's degree in supply chain and logistics. So I was working in the Air Force doing that kind of stuff. I saw a lot of gaps just in the supply chain. I saw in ways that, wow, if we could be nimble as an Air Force, we could fill these gaps. But the Air Force as a whole is just a big bureaucratic machine that can't really react that fast.
Yeah.
So I said, you know, at the time they were downsizing the Air Force and they're giving incentives to get out. So I said, all right, I'm going to get out. And I got out, and then I started just developing this company that would fill those gaps in the supply chain, fill those gaps with information technology tools that anybody in the Air Force, anybody located over in Afghanistan, Iraq could use these tools to help them track their parts, work with FedEx better, prepare shipping labels, work on customs, all these different logistics things that were problems in the Department of Defense space of shipping stuff and moving stuff around, because that's where I really was in that logistics area. You know, so I saw an area and I said, okay, I think we could do this better. And I had some supply chain consultants working for me. When I was in the Air Force, I was a captain, almost major at this point. And I saw what they were bringing, and I was just like, you know, these guys really aren't bringing value. I want to create a company that actually brings value to the Air Force and that can actually bring unique services. So I used my insight in the Air Force as far as where I saw that those gaps were, and went about trying to supply those. But so it was very niche specific in the Department of Defense. So we're a supply chain company, but we really work with the Department of Defense. So we work when a customer that's out in the field wants to get a part. From the time he orders it to the time he gets it, that's when we're facilitating different types of enhancements to help them out, capability to help them get that part.
No, that's awesome. I love that. I have a background in logistics myself, and so I can find that very fascinating, how the movement of shipments from one place to the other across countries and things of that nature. And it's just amazing. I think, you know, we see the package showing up in my house or whatever the case may be, but you don't see all the things that happened before that, right? From ocean to air to whatever the case may be. It's just pretty fascinating for me.
Right. And then just that movement, but then some of these parts we're talking about are $1 million parts. That's packaging, and they have to be, you know, inside the package, you have to put special things, the dimensions to hold them tight and all this stuff, you know? Yeah. So it's crazy, all the different things. Then they have to go on, you know, refrigerated trucks or this kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
It's a whole avenue of stuff that's not so simple.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. No, definitely. I was in the industry for quite some time before I got out, and then I just do very similar. I do consulting for some companies on that end, just because I have so many years of experience on that industry. But yeah, I can see that for sure. One of the things that you said here that I kind of like, and if you can just elaborate a little bit, is with faith and hope, you can overcome any obstacles, right? If you could just kind of elaborate a little bit on that. Obviously, you mentioned you are a man of faith. And
Yes.
I want to just go deeper on a little bit on that, because I think it's a pretty interesting comment and definitely a good advice that sometimes we lose faith, we lose hope, we are we don't trust the process, or we don't trust God or the universe, whatever you believe in, right? And so I want to get your opinion on that.
So I believe, that, like you said, faith and hope can really overcome so many things. And what I do is I like to take some time to look back at how God has showed up in my life. I can go back to that war, right? The bullets flying, right? I can go back to so many people in my life, decision points in my life where maybe I've been down for a while, but then a breakthrough will happen. And that breakthrough will happen through consistency in your obedience and abiding in me. It's reading the Bible. It's prayer. It's going to church, being with other fellow Christians and stuff like that, So it's that faith that there's some powerful God for me, God the Father working for me. For other people, could be other things working for you on your behalf. That as you're doing your consistent behaviors, right? There's just the hope that something's going to come, and don't ever give up, because once you give up, that you just maybe it was the next hour or the next second that breakthrough is going to happen. And that's what I try to realize, that's good. You don't know when the breakthrough is going to happen, so just keep doing what those things that you sense are serving to you, and it's not easy, but it sort of is easy it's sort of freeing when like I believe that someone's working out great plans for me. So I know that those plans are coming. I don't know when they're coming, but I know in the meantime, I'm going to choose joy and hope and faith and try to spread that message in my daily life.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, and you're just having that trust in the faith that it is going to come sooner or later, right?
Yeah.
So, no, that's awesome. Chris, if people wanted to connect with you, how can they find you? Where can they connect with you?
So I'm on Instagram at killing it 24_7. Right. Awesome. They can also, there's a at Inertia Medical. That's the personal training space that I recently started. So you can look at that. And then also iblogistics.com. That's our website for our company.
Okay. Awesome. And then before I let you go, I want to ask you a couple of more things. Number one, what are some of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis to just kind of keep you, in this positive state of mind?
So I'm a very habit-oriented person. Ed Milet and Andy Versillo have a big impact on me. So
hard.
Yeah, right, exactly. I do a lot of morning rituals, morning routines. When I wake up. For me, I wake up. My alarm clock is praise music. So my alarm clock wakes up with praise music, and that gives me energized. And I play a big playlist, and then I start doing a morning where I pray. And then after I get done praying, I'm going out doing a morning workouts. And then I'm starting my day. So I have a morning thing scheduled around that, some things for myself. And then I hit the work. And then I schedule some intentional time in the afternoon to maybe hit another workout or have some more prayer time or some other reading books or things like that. And then at nighttime, I have another thing where I, put the phone away at the hour before, do some gratitude sessions. What have I learned today? How's my life been an improvement today? How do I improve my quality of life? Those types of things. So I try to have within my day, I have the morning, the middle, and the end. Those three things, I have intentional things that I've programmed in that I've felt have been very helpful for me as far as having a reset during the day and grounding me of where I want to be. If stress has, my job's gone not that good, I've had some bad meetings, I can have that reset at around 1 or 2 that will reset me and say, okay, the rest of the day I want to have joy, happiness, it's a positive, and then once again, I'll have another reset later on, to right before I go to bed to make sure that when I go to bed, I have good visions in my head and positive mindset, so I can get to sleep a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that, and I definitely believe on that too. And having rituals or habits that are gonna really empower you, and definitely, at least for those that are listening, take some of those ideas and just kind of implement them in your day-to-day life, because I think they're pretty interesting.
Yeah, I taught at the beginning of this year in the poverty ministry. I taught a class to about 50 people that were in poverty about rituals and habits. And I just said, just pick one simple thing, and everybody's different, right? Everybody has different stages. So just think one different thing, maybe drinking a little bit extra water, maybe making your bed, maybe brushing your teeth. What if you don't brush your teeth? Maybe, eat a little bit healthier, whatever it may be. Pick one habit, try to do it for 30 days. Once you master that, pick another habit. And by the end of the year, you can have 12 new amazing habits.
Yeah.
And then those habits could feed upon themselves, build confidence in yourself that you could then move on to more complicated or more complex habits per se.
Yeah. I think where people might go a little bit on the negative side or the opposite side is that they start something and they don't see that immediate result, or they get influenced by other people, by society, by whatever the case may be, and then you fall out of that and then you don't go back to it. And I know, like, even I did the 75 hard last year, and the first time that I tried to do it, I didn't do good, and then I had to go back at it again, and it was just influences or even old habits, right? And sometimes we just don't follow through, and that's probably the biggest challenge. I think that if we all follow through in the things that we say we're gonna do, we can definitely be in a way better place in our lives, both emotionally and physically, and even mentally and financially, right? And I think that's a big deal.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
One of the habits I've been trying to nail for the last year is getting some meditation time, and I see it benefiting me when I do it, but I haven't been able to nail that habit. I just haven't, and it's still on my thing that I need to do. I'm thinking maybe I need to re-energize and put it on the power list to get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
But
definitely.
But that's something we all struggle with, that we see something that's good for us and we do it, but then we fall off the wagon and we don't do it. And I sit there and go, why am I doing that? I know this is a good thing for me. I've done it for like 30 days, 40 days. I've done the meditation. It's good for me. Why have I not done it? You have to figure that out, why you haven't done that.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. Chris, one last question. If the people that are watching us or listening to us, if they're going through any challenge, whatever that might be right now, what is one thing they can do to start overcoming that challenge?
Well, I think whatever challenge you have, think of all the good things that's happened to you. Take a mindset of gratitude, and because that gratitude then will create positive, I think, thoughts in your mind, which will therefore maybe open up some creativity for you or some doors that hopefully you will then overcome that challenge.
Yeah, I love it. Definitely.
Once again, gratitude leads to, gratitude service type things. When you have this big challenge over here, this obstacle keeps hitting you all the time, I try to tend to, okay, that's taking a lot of my time, but let's be some intentional and take some time to see all the good stuff that's happening to me. And let me go serve someone. And as I get my mind focused on that might create an opening in my mind where I can figure this out.
Yeah, definitely. No, I appreciate that. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us and bringing us some of your knowledge. So I appreciate that.
Hey, man, I appreciate reaching out to you and you being open to this, and it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can impact people. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know how we are, but I surely know you are.
Yeah. Well, definitely that's the purpose. We want to be able to get to definitely more people. And with that said, I want to say, the people that are watching us, make sure you comment, like, and share this episode here, and then just tell your friends, because somebody has to hear this message. We're all going through something, and that one challenge can probably be here in this episode, can give you the answers to be able to overcome that challenge. So once again, Chris, thank you so much. And for the rest of you guys, thank you for being here at the show of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Goodbye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.